Hello everyone and welcome back to Fun Ahead TV. Today, I'm having a weird hair day, but it's all good because today is the big day that we are putting the engine back up into my 2001 Porsche Carrera 4, aka a 996 generation 911. I had to do an engine out service, for those of you who are not familiar, to replace the timing chain guides, and while we were in there we did a whole bunch of other stuff, but now it is finally time to put the engine back up in the car, and we're going to start it today. So, stay tuned. What I'm going to work on next, actually, is putting the flywheel clutch pressure plate assembly back in place. We'll get that torqued down, put in place, and then we can mate up the transmission again. We are so close to being able to put this engine and transmission back in that guy, which I'm very excited about. Well, I gotta say, it's hard to believe that we're at this point right now. It is almost time to put that engine and transmission back into that car. As you saw in the last time lapse, we mated the engine and transmission again. I scooted everything over here to just kind of prepare it and get it ready. I put the oil filler pipe back into, we'll just call it up mode. And in order to do that, I did take this coolant line back off because otherwise the oil filler tube runs on this side of it. So, I mean, this is easily something that we can just reinstall once we get it all up into the car. We're almost to the point now where we will start lowering the car onto the powertrain, and we'll see if we can get some alignment here. Hopefully everything kind of lines up. I'm trying to just like tuck everything out of the way the best I can currently. All right, let's do it. Hey, guess what? There's an engine in my 911 again. That's pretty cool. So, as you just saw in that time lapse, things went decently well. Obviously, it's just a matter of patience and going little by little to make sure there's no interference. Fortunately, I did not have any issues along the way. I am still waiting, however, for that gotcha moment, that thing that I forgot to plug in or forgot to do, that I'm later going to realize, like, oh crap, the engine needs to be out for that. I'm really hoping I don't come across one of those realizations. So far, so good. We'll see. The engine, as you can see, is not even sitting on the table. It is completely mounted up into the car. It is not mounted solidly into the car, but it is sitting on the engine and transmission mounts on its own. So for now, it's time to just plug everything in again. Obviously, I've got like coolant lines sitting anywhere and everywhere just to kind of get it out of the way. This was actually one area that I was very concerned about. This coolant line right here was very close to this solenoid and the plug on the way up, and I was really worried that it was going to interfere somehow and that it was going to kind of have a crunch moment. But anyway, obviously it made it all the way up. Hopefully installing the AC compressor isn't too big of an ordeal. As you can see, I did leave off the plenum, the intake plenum and the throttle body, so that I can reach back here and get access to this mounting point where the rearmost bolt on the AC compressor goes. Let's see, but yeah, I think we're sitting in a pretty decent position. We just have all this stuff to plug in. Then we can go under the car. So many things to do. Pretty much everything that is sitting over here. Well, everybody, it's time. I'm excited. Hopefully you're excited. We're about to see what goes down right now. So, look. Everything is back in, and we even have a funnel sticking out. That's not factory, but I'm currently filling the coolant. I did already fill the oil, which is exciting. Other than that, I'm topping up the coolant. So, as you can see in here, I got the AC compressor back in. I've apparently gotten kind of decent at that, having taken it out 2 times since owning this car. Once when I did the IMS bearing, and then once during part of this process, because going in just now was not that hard. Obviously, we got the serpentine belt in, we got the air box in, we got all the stuff plugged in, we got wires routed correctly, the main harness connected back there, power steering lines went together as when we were putting the engine up into the car. I did the exhaust. That was a total freaking pain in the butt because it's heavy and there's a lot of moving pieces. We got new exhaust gaskets, new manifold gasket, and a gasket at the joint here. So I haven't finished putting everything back together, and of course I haven't put away all my tools because that's the worst look ever. The moment you put all your tools away, you're gonna get them right back out, almost guaranteed every time. Yes, I'm superstitious like that. Also, to add to the superstition, I haven't put all the parts back on the car. I'm wanting to leave some things off during the test fire just in case something happens and we do need to pull the engine out again. God forbid. You know, hopefully we start it. It sounds great. I'm happy as can be, and then I can just raise the car while it's idling and warming up, and then, you know, put all that stuff back on. I still haven't come across a gotcha, which is awesome, but and I still, you know, to my knowledge, I have everything plugged in. Everything that needed to be plugged in with the engine out is plugged in. I really hope that when we try to fire the car, we don't have like a massive fuel leak or coolant leak or something. I double checked. I'm pretty sure we have everything back together. So, without further ado, let's do it. Okay, so general game plan is we're going to crank it for a short bit first before actually running it. I have pulled the fuel pump relay, which should allow us to crank it because there's absolutely no fuel like in the rails that would combust anyway. I mean, there's a little bit, but there's none that it's made its way in a pressurized state into the injectors, so we shouldn't get any firing when we don't want it. Anyway, we're going to crank it for a minute with no fuel pump, and then we'll put the relay back in place, and then crank it, and then it should hopefully fire. Of course, the purpose of that is with the slow cranking, we want to at least get a little bit of oil up and running throughout the system. So the cranking with no fuel pump relay is going to be kind of part one, and then part two will be we will actually let it fire, we'll let it catch, and then we'll shut it right off. So we're not going to let it do any kind of sustained amount of operation until I can see on the dash that it has in fact built oil pressure. Let's do it. hopefully it stays that way. I'm gonna let it warm up. I'm gonna watch for any fluids dripping underneath. Hopefully there are none. But yeah, so far so good.